Hello, Summer Academy Econ students. This is Mr. Stark. This is the PowerPoint accompanying the lesson on demand. So I recommend that you go through it and pay attention to the lecture that goes along with it because Standard 2, which is supply and demand, is usually the most difficult for students in economics. So we'll start with demand. What is demand? Now, when we think about demand, we're talking about consumers, people who demand or require or want things. People who are buyers, we're thinking as a buyer. So demand, the definition is the willingness and ability to pay for a good or service. You have to have both of those. You can be willing, but if you don't have the money in your pocket, it's not demand. You can be able to pay for it, but if you don't want it, that's also not demand. So again, it is the willingness and ability to buy a good or service. And the law of demand, again, if you think of it as a consumer, as consumers, we're always thinking about getting the lowest price. So that means with the law of demand, as prices go down, quantity demanded goes up. So we love the word sale. People flock to see sales. On the other hand, if prices go up, quantity demanded typically goes down. We don't like to see prices go up. People usually buy less of it. So again, law of demand, price goes down, quantity demanded goes up, price goes up, quantity demanded goes down. So if you look at this little practice question here, you have $10 that you want to spend buying music on iTunes. Let's pretend that songs were still $1 on iTunes. I know they're a little more expensive now, but let's pretend that. Anyway, sorry about that. So dollar. So if you have $10 to spend, they're $1 a song. The quantity you would demand is 10. If price goes up to $3, obviously you could buy 3 songs. You can't buy a third of a song, so you'd have $1 left. So $3, you buy 3 songs. The thing that changed was the price. The price is definitely the dominant factor here. This is not in the readings that you guys did, but this is what's called a demand schedule. That is a fancy. So a demand schedule basically tells you the price of something, in this case DVDs, going from $30 all the way down to $5, and then it tells you how much people are willing to spend on, or how many of those DVDs are willing to buy. So in this case, Cheryl, this is just for one person. At $30, she wouldn't buy any DVDs, but as price goes down, her demand goes up, which again is the law of demand. This is important here. It's in bold. Quantity demanded and price have an inverse or opposite relationship. One goes up, the other goes down. So price goes up, quantity demanded goes down. Price goes down, quantity demanded goes up. Again, that is an opposite or inverse relationship. And then when you graph it, you have what's called a demand curve. So this just shows the same thing at $30, which you have on the vertical axis, and then you have quantity demanded on the horizontal axis. So $30, she doesn't get any, and it shows you the previous slide all the way down the line. Now, eventually these are going to cross. You're going to have supply and demand lines. Remember, demand going left to right, demand goes to the dirt. So it always goes down and to the right. So demand to the dirt. Okay? This, on the other hand, is what's called a market demand schedule. It's not really different. It's just a demand schedule for not just one person, but a lot of people, the whole market, theoretically. So whereas Cheryl wouldn't buy any at $30, there are some people that would spend $30. The difference, obviously, would be some people might actually, which is the challenge question here, some people might be willing to spend more because they have more money. Some people might be collectors. Cheryl might not have as much money. She might not even have a TV or a DVD player. So that might account for why the difference between Cheryl's demand curve and the actual demand curve for everyone. So review, price goes down, quantity goes up, price goes up, quantity goes down, inverse relationship. Don't worry about the price effect, independent variable, don't worry about that. So, practice question, considering the law of demand, when the price of concert tickets increases, what will happen to the quantity that is demanded? Usually, again, this is usually, not always, but usually price goes up, quantity goes down. All right, so that is the first part, the law of demand. Now we're going to look at demand lines or demand curves. And by the way, demand curves can be actual curves like this, or it can be straight lines. It's still called a demand curve, so don't get caught up in the terminology for it. Okay, so we have something called a change in quantity demanded. So this is when there's a simple change in price. So if you're talking about chicken sandwiches, if chicken sandwiches went up from $3 to $4, people are going to demand less of it. So if you look here at $3, you had 80 sandwiches sold. If you raise it to $4, you have 60 sandwiches sold. And on a graph, this is always shown by an arrow going up if the price goes up, or an arrow going down if price goes down. Okay? So this is movement along the curve. It's one line, one curve, with an arrow going up if the price goes up, or if the price goes down, you'd have an arrow pointing down the curve. That's very important that you get that straight, because we're going to come up next something called change in demand, not quantity demanded, but change in demand that's entirely different. So change in demand is not caused by price. It's not a simple price change. This is when something happens that causes the entire line to shift to the left or shift to the right. And here's a little adage that I teach my class, a little saying that helps a lot of students. Left, a new line to the left, so left is less, right is more. So if you have an arrow to the left pointing to a new line to the left, that means overall demand decreased. Demand at every single price went down. It decreased, so left is less. On the other hand, right is more. If there's a new demand line to the right, that means more demand. At every single price, people are buying more of the product. Now, this is different from a change in quantity demand because there's two lines, not one. And the arrow is not going up or down on one line, it's going to the left or to the right. It's very important that you remember that and make distinctions on that. So, we'll come back to the 6 shifters or 6 things that cause a change in demand, or change in demand, not change in quantity demand. Remember, change in quantity demand is always a price change, whereas a change in demand is always one of the 6 shifters that we are going to talk about. And actually, those 6 shifters should be in your reading for this unit. And we'll probably go over them in one of our video chats because it's really essential that you guys know what those are. So, example, scenario, Chick-fil-A. Several years ago, this is when the situation of, or the debate on legalizing gay marriage was going around the country. Supreme Court was going to rule on it. A lot of people were weighing in. Reporters were always kind of looking to stir the water, so they went to the Chick-fil-A owner, who's evangelical Christian, and they asked, well, what do you think about this? And he said, well, my business, we don't distinguish it. We don't have a political stance on it. We serve everyone. My personal stance is I believe that marriage is between a man and a woman. Well, the media being what it is today, they put it on the headlines, Chick-fil-A's anti-gay. And so a lot of people just looked at the headline. That's as far as they needed to go. And so Chick-fil-A suffered. So a lot less demand. At every single price, people bought less chicken sandwiches. It wasn't a price change. It was a change in demand, which is a shift to the left. Remember, left is less. And again, we'll get to the 6 determinants here in your reading. But what changed it was something called consumer taste, which means popularity. It became much less popular to buy Chick-fil-A because of the political/social statement that was going around about Chick-fil-A. And again, this is a shift to the left. 2 lines, left is less, so less demand. So left is less. Okay, So let's do a few practice questions going over the 6 determinants. Here are the 6 determinants. We have income, market size, consumer taste, consumer expectations, substitute goods, and complementary goods. So income basically means, remember this is a change in demand, so a shift to the left or the right. Left is less, right is more. Income means how much money do people have? If people have less money, that means they're going to spend less. Their demand's going to go down. People have more money or get more money, they're going to spend more. So if they get a raise, their demand's going to go up. If they get a pay cut or lose their job, their demand's going to go down. Market size simply refers to population. The more people you have in an area, the more demand you have. People are more demanding. The less people you have, the more demand, or the less demand, I'm sorry. So for example, during the, let's say the Olympics in Tokyo, Summer Olympics in Tokyo, which will come up next year. It was supposed to be this summer, but delayed because of coronavirus. Next year, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people more people in Tokyo to watch the Olympics. A lot more people, a lot bigger population, which means more demand for everything, from hotels to medicine to food. When the Olympics are over, hundreds of thousands of people will leave, demand will go down. Consumer taste, this can be summed up in one word: popularity. Something makes a product more popular, like a celebrity endorses it, or less popular, maybe a study came out showing that the food is not very good for you, or that it's toxic, something like that. So anything that makes the product more popular, it's going to be more demand. Less popular, less demand. Consumer expectations, this one's just a tad bit tricky. This is, for example, if you expect the price to go up in the future, well, you don't like that, so you're going to spend more now. So demand now is going to go up because you expect prices to go up in the future. So for example, we just finished Memorial Day. Every Memorial Day weekend, gas prices go up because gas companies know people are going to be traveling. So they want to make more money, they raise gas prices. Well, if you know that ahead of time, and a lot of people do, that means that they're going to fill up their tanks the week before Memorial Day to get the lower price. So the demand for gas the week before Memorial Day weekend went up because they knew prices would go up over the weekend, and they're always looking for the lowest price. On the other hand, if you expect prices to go down in the future, that means you're going to wait and buy less now and wait for the cut in price. For example, Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, called Black Friday because when you're a business, you're either in the red or the black. If you're in the black, it means that you're making money, you're profitable. If you're in the red, it means that you're losing money. Most businesses are losing money, they're in the red until Christmas shopping season, which starts day after Thanksgiving. Black Friday, when most businesses start getting into the black, they start making profit. People know that sales are going to be crazy low on Black Friday. So the week before Black Friday, people are not going to buy as much. Demand's going to go down. They're going to wait, and then demand's going to go up on Black Friday. Again, we'll go over these during our video chat just to make sure that you understand them. Substitute goods, simply, for example, Powerade and Gatorade. They're competitors. If price goes up for Powerade, people buy less of it. Price doesn't go up for Gatorade, that means that people are going to buy more Gatorade, the competitor. So if price goes up for something, people are going to buy more of their competitor. So for example, Peter Pan and Jif peanut butter. I love peanut butter. Let's say Jif peanut butter goes up in price, but Peter Pan doesn't. Well, fewer people are going to buy Jif. Demand's going to go down for Jif. Or quantity demand is going to go down for Jif, not demand. Quantity demand is going to go down for Jif, and people are going to buy more of the substitute, which would be Peter Pan, or maybe almond butter, or whatever. So remember, this is about competitors. They go in opposite directions. So if prices go up for one product, people are going to buy more of the competitor. And finally, complementary goods. These are goods that go in the same direction. If people buy more of one good, they buy more of the other, like peanut butter and jelly. People buy more peanut butter, they buy more jelly. People buy more coffee, they buy more creamer. People buy more shampoo, they buy more conditioner. So if demand goes up for shampoo, demand goes up for conditioner. Demand goes up for peanut butter, demand goes up for jelly. So let's go over these questions really briefly here. So, change in demand of hotel rooms in Florida during the school year. Well, during the school year, Florida's a tourist state. During the school year, there's probably less people there. So we're talking about market size. Less people there in Florida during the school year, so demand for everything, including hotel rooms, will decrease. A new line will be drawn to the left. Next, change in demand of silly bands, because WWFD, what would Fry do, bracelets have become more popular. I would take a couple of these determinants here. This could be substitute goods, because they're substitutes, or it mentions them becoming more popular, could be consumer taste. But in this case, going with consumer tastes, and demand decreases for silly bands because their competitor, WWFD bracelets, become more popular. The price for peanut butter drops, which results in a change of demand for jelly. So we want to know what's going to happen to the demand for jelly. Well, let's think about this. Price for peanut butter drops. People like that. They're going to buy more peanut butter, which means they're also going to buy more jelly because they go together. They are complements, and demand increases. Next one. Change in demand for t-shirts at Old Navy the week before Black Friday. So people know Old Navy's going to have a crazy sale coming up, so they're going to wait to buy their t-shirts until the sale. So the demand's going to go down the week before Black Friday, and of course that's talking about consumer expectations. Demand will decrease. Next, Matt gets a raise at work, so he decides to buy more comic books. Well, he's getting a raise. His income's going up. So that's income, that's the determinant. And the more money you make, the more you buy. So your demand increases. And finally, or actually we got two more, the price of Advil goes up. So what happens to the generic brand of ibuprofen? Advil and ibuprofen are the same thing. Advil's the name brand. Ibuprofen's the actual chemical that's in Advil, but it's a generic. So like Equate or the Walmart brand or the Target brand or whatever would be like the generic brand, which is almost always cheaper than the name brand Advil. So the price of Advil goes up. Well, people don't like that. They're going to look for something else. Well, there's the generic ibuprofen, the same thing, which is a substitute good, and it means the demand is going to increase for the cheaper substitute good. All right, so remember, left is less, right is more. And we're not going to worry about those right now. We'll get to elasticity. All right, so now we're talking about what's called elasticity of demand. And really, the question this answers, elasticity answers, is the law of demand always true? Or always equally true? So in other words, are there some products that even if prices go up and even way up, people will still pretty much buy the same amount? And the answer is yes. There are some. And let's look at those right now. So, elasticity of demand basically shows how consumers react to price changes. So, for example, if prices go up, do consumers buy a lot less, a few less, or do they pretty much buy the same amount? Price goes down, do people buy a lot more, some, or do they pretty much still buy the same amount? That's what elasticity is talking about, the amount that consumers change their buying habits because of a price change. So something is elastic because quantity demanded changes a lot. So prices go up, people buy a lot less. Prices go down, people buy a lot more. On the other hand, like candy bars, use as an example. So Snicker bars go up from 50 cents to $1. Well, people are probably not going to buy nearly as many Snicker bars. And we'll talk about the reasons why here in a second. Inelastic means that even if prices go up, even way up, people are still going to buy pretty much the same amount. And when prices go way down, people pretty much still buy the same amount. That's inelastic. Inelastic, not very much change. So like medicines, think of insulin or life-saving medicines. So insulin, there is no substitute for it. If prices shoot up for insulin, which has happened, demand pretty much stays the same because people need it. On the other hand, if prices would go like way down, which I can't see it happening, people wouldn't be able to like stock up on it because it's only by prescription. Or think of EpiPens. EpiPens are those injectors. If you're having an allergic reaction, you can, if you have one, inject it into you to keep you from possibly dying if it's a bad allergic reaction. The company that used to make them, they had a monopoly on them, meaning that they were able to, they were the only ones that were able to produce them for about 10 years. Made a lot of money. So before they lost their monopoly, before there was called a patent, it was about $100 for a 2-pack of EpiPens. They expired after a year. The last year of their monopoly, when they're about to lose, their patents and other companies could then make them, and which would drive down prices and then drive down profits, they spiked their prices to like $800 for a 2-pack. Do you think that changed demand for them? Well, no, it didn't that much. Not that much. Because if you're severely allergic to like bee stings or strawberries or peanut butter, there's no substitute. You still need them. It's a necessity. And so that would be inelastic. So if you're graphing elastic or inelastic, it's pretty simple. If something is elastic, which means there's a lot of change, there's a big change in quantity along with price, that's more horizontal. So like movie tickets. My first job was at a movie theater. And back in 1998, primetime movie like Armageddon, summer blockbuster, opening night, Friday night, 7 o'clock. We might cost you $5.50 for a ticket, maybe $5.75. Okay, prices have gone way up since then. Think of Endgame, Avengers Endgame, cost you $11, $12. Well, people have gone to see movies a lot less as prices have gone up for movie theaters. Movie theaters have been hurting for money. It's why they charge so much for concessions. Prices go up, people will go to the movies a lot less, and that's a horizontal. Because remember, down here is the quantity, the change in quantity. So if there's a big change in quantity, which is elastic, there's going to be more of a horizontal line. On the other hand, think of like dental fillings. Okay, well, if you need a filling, you got a hole in your tooth, there's not a lot you can do. Even if prices shoot up for fillings, you still need them. So quantity really doesn't change when prices go up. Now, there might be a few people that, just have their tooth pulled or just try to grit it out and let their tooth rot in their mouth. But for the most part, people will still get a filling. So there's very little change down here on the quantity axis. On the other hand, if prices were to go way down for fillings, which they don't, are people going to like purposely drill holes in their mouth and stuff to get lower prices? Well, of course not. That's not the way it works. So really, the reason why doctors and dentists and stuff don't put their services on sale are A, they don't need to because people still need them, and B, they wouldn't make any more money. If you get, surgeons don't say, hey, if you get an appendectomy now, I'll throw in, take out your gallbladder for free. Well, that's not going to help. If people have a ruptured appendix, they're not going to start trying to get their gallbladder all irritated just so they can get a deal. It's not the way it works. So again, inelastic is very little change here on the axis. And there's 3 reasons why this happens. First of all, substitute goods or services. So if there's a substitute, so like Snicker bars, there's Milky Way, there's Three Musketeer, you name it. So prices go up for Snicker bars, people are going to buy something else. They're going to buy Milky Way or other bars. That's elastic, they're substitutes. There's going to be a big change in quantity demanded if prices go up for Snicker bars. If there is no substitute, so like insulin or EpiPens, that's inelastic. There is no second resort or plan B or plan C. Insulin and EpiPens are the only plan for what they treat. And so even if prices go up, and they have, well, people are still going to pretty much demand them at the same. The next one is proportion of income. So for example, if the increase in price is a pretty big chunk of change for your income level, so if airfare goes up from $200 to $600, well, $400 is a lot for most people. That is going to be elastic. A lot of people are going to think twice before flying on their next vacation. On the other hand, if a box of pencils goes up from 50 to 60 cents, that's a 10-cent increase. Not a lot of people are going to like boycott pencils because of a 10-cent increase. So that's going to be inelastic. People are pretty much going to buy the same amount even if they go up 10 or 20 cents. And then finally, necessity or luxury. If it is a necessity, if you need it, so like x-rays, that's going to be inelastic. X-rays are never put on sale because again, they're necessities. People don't go, go check the newspaper, see if x-rays are on sale, and then on a Friday night go get some x-rays for fun. It's not the way it works. Only get x-rays when you need them. Therefore, they don't need to be put on sale, and prices can go up, and people still need them. Everything else, like milkshakes, my two boys, 6 and 3 years old, love Steak and Shake milkshakes. They're elastic. They are not luxuries, they're luxuries. They are not necessities, despite what my boys think. So, if people, if Steak and Shake quadruples the price of milkshakes, people are just going to go without them. They're luxuries, which makes them elastic. So, for example, pizza. That's elastic. It's a luxury. Car seats, like child car seats that you have to have if you want to have a child under like 80 pounds in Indiana. That would be inelastic because it's a necessity. Now this next one, pay-per-view, this is like the TV shows like UFC fights or boxing matches that other TV stations don't have them. If you want to watch them, you have to pay special to watch them. That would be inelastic because there's no substitute. Unless you want to spend 10 grand on a ticket to go to Vegas and watch the boxing match, you got to do pay-per-view. On the other hand, if chewing gum doubled, so let's say a pack of gum went from like 50 to 75 cents, that's probably not going to sway too many people. That's going to be inelastic because people are still going to buy chewing gum, even if it's up an extra 25 cents. It's a small proportion of income. And then finally, an elastic curve is horizontal, inelastic curve, vertical.